So one of the things that we have at Funk is Health IQ. It's something that we refer to a lot. And what we have designed is what's called a health map. And what that encompasses is movement, mindset, and nutrition effectively. And so what you could look at is in like, physical mastery, and then mindset is mental development or developmental work. And then nutrition is exactly that, like our education or nutrition IQ almost is what you could think of it as. Yeah. And so most gyms would have variations of this, I would say. What I think a lot of businesses miss out on is the middle part, which is the mindset side of stuff. Yeah. And because it can kind of be a bit wanky. It's like, think positive. Like, yeah, it doesn't always work. Like sometimes actually thinking negatively is how we evolved a lot of the time. It's like, oh, that spider won't bite me. It's like being actually like somewhat mismatching is actually very crucial, and sometimes it can be seen as negative, and it can definitely go down that way, and there's lots of science explaining why we shouldn't be sitting in boxes, looking at boxes, getting our air from boxes, drinking out of boxes, etc. But alas, here we are. The mindset mental development work that I think gyms, and when I say gyms, I'm actually referring to what should be labeled as educational facilities, right? Is how do we then measure the mental development? So we've done it with our physical stuff as safe, strong, sexy, and then there's parameters to meet effectively, to meet within those safe, strong, and sexy components. But now here's the thing, it's like, and I've mentioned on other conversations before, it's like, it doesn't mean everyone should get to the third tier, because that's not fueling someone's life. And so what is it you want to do with your life? And then where on this map do you need to be in order to be able to do that very, very well? Because you'd prefer to be mediocre in the gym and a badass in life than be a badass in gym and mediocre in life. That's how I would perceive that situation. So, hey, be a badass at both, whatever, it doesn't matter, but it's making sure you're not trading one off. And so, or at least in the sense of sacrificing the 160 hours you spend outside of the gym. So looking at the mental development stuff, we have student, sage, and scholar. Other way around, student, scholar, and sage. And so what that is like, well, how could we measure people developing their mental development? It's like, well, if they read more books, would they improve their developmental work? Probably, right? And if they listen to podcasts, would they potentially, or audio books, but they would put that under books, right? If they consumed more books. If they listen to podcasts, would that help develop their developmental work? I would say yes. If they had more quiet time, right? Meditation or quiet time, whatever, would that help them develop? It's like, probably. I would say probably more than a possibly. And then on top of that, what was the other one we had? We had seminars. So this is a year thing. So we measure this as like, okay, so if you consume 6 books a year, and we think of it like you exponentially over 10 years, right? So over 10 years, that's 60 books. If someone consumes 60 books over 10 years, would that person be further ahead than the person that probably didn't? I would argue probably yes. Now, if that person attended one decent sized seminar, like a 3-day thing or a 2-day thing every year, compared to the person that didn't, they spent somewhere between 20 to 30 days learning in that environment, would that person improve compared to the person who didn't? I would argue yes. And then from there, it's 25 hours of quiet time, right? 25 hours of quiet time a year, which is, half an hour a week. Exactly right. It's not much. It's literally laying in bed at night and thinking positive about what your ideal day tomorrow will look like. And it's not like, hopefully win the lottery in the morning, grab a ticket to Bahamas and drink. That's not an ideal day. It's not what it is. It's like, what are the things that I have on, and then how can I best experience those meetings, those sessions, the food, whatever it might be, right? And then on top of that, it's like 50 hours of podcasts a year, right? Which is an hour a week of podcast. It's really easy to do. And so that's one of the reasons why I set my podcast up, Mood Prep, which is already 50 minutes a week. And that's 10 minutes, that's driving to work in the morning. That's it, right? And so it's like, if the person listened to an hour a week of podcasts over 10 years compared to someone who didn't, and so that's safe. That's like, if the person that just wants to go, how can I start the developmental work for myself? Because if they're really, really good with their physical body and they're really good with their nutrition, but they're missing out on this middle part, then it's just like, well, you're missing out on the core of everything. And so, you would then look at student, you look at scholar and sage as an extension of those examples. So that's our mental fitness standards, and I think each gym should have their own.